The following presentation is brought to you by kmmedia.pro. Please visit kmmedia.pro for more information. Now stay right where you are as we present. Welcome to Positive Talk Radio, evolving ideas, one conversation at a time. Great guests, dynamic stories and interviews, plus new thoughts on a wide range of topics and concepts. I hope that you'll hang with me, Kevin McDonald, my friends, and of course, you. As together we work to understand why we are all here and what we can do to make our world a better place for all of us. To be happy, be kind, and live in peace together. Yep, that's Positive Talk Radio. Episode of Positive Talk Radio. I get to be here with a good, wonderful food person and a smiley face, and she does some great work, and it's going to be great fun to talk to her. Her name is Beth Nagle-Griffin. She is a chocolatier, and we'll get into what that is in a little bit, but she also is working with Allison Roberts and the Behind the Power program, and I'm looking at your bio and stuff right here on behindthepowerevent.com. You can go there and you can find out all about the event that's coming up in October 19th through the 21st. I highly recommend, if you can't get there in person, do it digitally, and it will be great fun. And Beth is actually going to be speaking, aren't you, Beth? By the way, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you, Kevin. I am very well. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, it's ultimately my pleasure. It really is. Because now, what are you going to be talking? Are you going to be you're one of the speakers, right?
I am one of the speakers. I am one of the authors. There are 13 of us plus Allison, and I'm also in Allison's practitioner program. So I will be speaking about compulsion. My speech title is called Finding the Soulful Truth in I Am, and it talks about my journey and becoming and recognizing that my compulsions are really just an extension of some unhealed childhood trauma and feelings, and how I learned to cope with them.
That's awesome. By the way, John Cole, who's a really cool dude, says, "Hi, Beth. It's good to see you finally with moi." And then Audra also says, "Hi, beautiful Beth." So,
hello, my beautiful tribe.
I got to tell you, it is great fun for me to interview all of the folks that are going to be speakers, because all of you, first of all, you're extremely talented, and your hearts are in the right place, and you really want to help people, and that's why this event is going to be so powerful, and so it's great.
Yes, it is. I am so honored and so grateful to be a part of this. Allison has brought together again an amazing group of individuals that have powerful stories to tell, to share, and I know that each and every story is going to impact not one, but many people, so that they can heal too.
Now, did you write a chapter for the book too?
I did. My chapter is called Dust into Gold. And again, it talks about my story about compulsion and how I learned to accept myself and truly become, through the process of self-forgiveness, and really becoming a human being rather than a human doing.
Absolutely. By the way, Christine says hi, as does Linda, and so it's great to have everybody here. Let's talk about compulsion just a little bit, because how does compulsion work as it relates to like a habit or an addiction, or what is there a difference between those?
That's a really great question. And one of the things that's going to happen at Behind the Power is we're having panels. And I'm on two panels, the Distorted Mindset and Intrusive Thinking panel, which relates to addiction and compulsion. I'm also on a panel with some other co-authors about addiction awareness. And the definition of compulsion is something we do repeatedly over and over from an unconscious mindset that continuously gives us negative results. So you
Well,
see
no,
where
I
I'm
was
going.
just, I was just thinking because this falls into line with the. I have some friends that one beautiful lady in particular that she keeps dating the same guy in a different suit, and none of them are healthy for her. But it almost seems like it's a compulsion for her to pick that kind of person out. And is that kind of what we're talking about here?
It sure is, Kevin, because compulsion can show up in many ways. It can show up in food, it can show up in relationships, it can show up in uh, addictions like alcohol and drugs. It can show up in overexercising, spending, shopping, really anything that uh, has an unconscious drive behind it. And oftentimes with compulsion, we're looking for relief or we're looking for an answer to an underlying uh, trauma or question that we can't resolve. And that's where some of the mindset work that Allison teaches comes in, when we can identify early childhood traumas or subconscious thought patterns, we can start to rewrite them and heal our compulsions and our traumas.
You know, I have a friend, somebody, another person who's very close to me that
Mm-hmm.
um, when he gets bored and he doesn't feel good about himself, he has to go buy something. Now, whether or not he has money in the bank to do that is not apparently the question. The question is he will go buy it and then he'll regret it later on because he can't afford it. Is that kind of the compulsion? And would it help him to learn why he does what he does?
Absolutely, Kevin, that you're giving really great examples of compulsion. And uh, I can relate because that's part of my story too. I had a lot of behaviors that I didn't understand why I did them. I knew better, but I kept doing them. And, one of them was spending money. Another, back years ago, was eating. I've had my little foray into, um, let's say, other dalliances that were really just a an active way to throw action at a problem rather than sit with the feeling and try to work it out. Just throw an action at the problem to try to make those feelings go away or feel better about myself. But the thing is, it's never about the thing. It's not about the shopping. It's not about the spending. It's not about the eating. It's not about drugs, alcohol, gambling for some people. It's about what's going on inside. And that takes a lot of deep work. And sometimes it's painful. And often we need someone to help us do it.
Which brings us back to the Allison equation, which is that she is. I was talking to somebody earlier who has worked with Allison, and as a matter of fact, her name is Julie, and she was in the first Behind the Power. And she said, I wrote the chapter for the book, the first book, and it was beautifully done. And it was funny and it was poignant and it was just a perfect thing that I thought was great. So I gave it to Allison, and Allison said, it's okay, but you're hiding. As only Allison can say it. It's like
Mhm.
this is fine, this is good, but it's not who you really are. And Allison, for some reason, and I don't know if this happened in your case too, but she has this ability to be able to lovingly call you out on your shit, excuse the expression, and really help you see what's behind you and how to get over it. Has that been your experience of her?
Yes. And Allison has really helped me identify that what has been going on in my life happened a long time ago. And there were things that I accepted as my normal, that I had developed coping skills that I still hold on to, like throwing action at things, even though it's productive action, overworking for one, that maybe it's not the best thing for me. Maybe I just need to look a little deeper and look at some childhood experiences that I developed habits around or coping skills that no longer serve me.
And by the way,
Sounded
oh, I was just going to say it couldn't have been that long ago because you're a young person. Um,
in my heart. I will turn 59 years old a few days before the Behind the Power event. So in a way, it's my birthday party, along with Allison's daughter, Laura. Her birthday is very close to mine.
and it's are you a Virgo?
I am a Libra.
Ah, I'm a Virgo. My birthday is coming right up. You may have heard of the date. I now say this date all the time, and people go, "Oh, I'm sorry." 9/11.
It's my anniversary. So I will think of you, Kevin. We will celebrate together.
Okay, good. Are you still celebrating your anniversaries?
Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah. It will be 29 years this year.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
Congratulations!
Thank
Yeah,
you.
my marriage ended after 24 years. I have the distinction of getting married and divorced on the same date, 24 years apart.
That actually sounds like a complete circle to me. So there's,
It really is, and it
yeah.
really was, and it gave me closure. So, but
Yes.
in any event, but we're talking about compulsions, and we're talking with Beth Nagle-Griffin, and she also works with raw foods and nutrition, and you help people. Now, are you because you work with raw foods and stuff? Does that mean you're a vegetarian?
Uh, I am going to answer it this way. Uh, I find labels constricting, and we need words to describe things. So at times in my life, I have been vegetarian, I have been vegan, I have been an omnivore. I like to describe myself now as 99.5% plant-based because uh, occasionally I do eat a little fish because I was brought up by a beautiful Nova Scotian grandmother who taught me love of the sea and respect for the sea and all its creatures. And occasionally a friend will drop by a farm fresh egg, and I will cook eggs for my family in the most loving possible way. So, and I also believe that we shouldn't should on each other for any reason at all. So
Of
I
course
like
not.
to I like to exactly. I knew we were on the same page about that, given your podcast and who you are, but it comes down to one of the things, and this kind of ties in with compulsion, is respecting another person's food choice,
Hmm.
um, and nurturing that, because that's something we learn at a very early age, because food is attached to survival, but it also becomes part of our emotional and spiritual well-being too, based on what we're taught and how we eat. So we carry that on later into our lives. So to have freedom around our choices around food gives us more freedom to be ourselves. I think that it's a I respect you, you respect me. That was a long answer to your question, wasn't it?
No, but see, sometimes there are long answers to questions because they have to be laid out in completeness. And you completed that really, really quite well because, we shouldn't, we should not, it shouldn't matter to us what somebody wants to, what they feel comfortable eating, what they feel good about. As long as you feel good about what you're doing with yourself. I mean, if you are eating stuff that you know that you don't want or is not good for you, and then you regret it later, then you are you're not living your best life. And so, and one of my favorite people on the planet is a vegetarian. His name is Sir Paul McCartney. So, um, and he's 80 years old and he looks fabulous. So,
Yes, there are benefits to plant-based choices and plant-based diets, and I completely support that. I think there's not only nutritional healing through the nutrient density of plants, but and also no buts about it. And also there's vibrational healing because plants carry a high vibrational energy that's available to us. And when are consuming that high vibration, our bodies naturally respond, and it helps us raise our vibration.
exactly. By the way,
Yeah.
Christine says beautifully said, Beth. So see that answer was exactly the right answer. So
Thank you.
that's just awesome. And Audra agrees with you completely. So that's also awesome. Um, so congratulations. Has this been a journey for you to be able to move away from the compulsions and the things that you did as a youth to where you are now? Or is it an ongoing journey? Is it something that you have to fight with yourself, or have you come to peace with it?
I love that question. Thank you. Uh, I am, yes, I am coming to peace with who I am. So it's making my compulsive tendencies less charged. I can recognize them more easily than I did in the past. Some compulsions no longer serve me and I've given up. Uh, my wayward youth led me down some strange and, let's say, dynamic roads. You can read about it in my chapter. Give you a little teaser there for the upcoming book. You're Not Crazy, You're Powerful. That's our Behind the Power book this year. Uh, and every day it's a practice. I will say my big one always has been food. I learned from a very early age that uh, I could soothe myself with food. It was taught to me. I grew up in a family where saying I love you was not said.
Mm.
Uh, Hugs were reserved. I was the fifth of five, obviously, the fifth child in a family of five, and my siblings were much older than me. My parents were older when they had me. And I do not blame them, and it's no fault of theirs. I kind of got backseated in a way of not being seen and heard, type of thing. And although my mother was an amazing baker, she would create these beautiful uh, desserts and lay them out on the counter for the whole weekend. And when I go to take one, and I believe my siblings can relate to this, she'd say, if you eat that, you're going to get fat. So on the one hand, I'm showing I love you with this cornucopia of amazing baked goods, but I'm going to shame the heck out of you if you take it. So I got this mixed message. So food became love, and it was. We had amazing dinner times and meals of healthy food, but I was wired for sweets. So that's what I wanted. And at the same time, I learned how to sneak it, and I learned how to overindulge for fear that I wasn't going to get more of it. And it became a very distorted way to give myself self love. So I struggled with that. And I struggled with body image for decades. And it wasn't until I got married and I have a beautiful 25-year-old son that part of me, I found a lot of love in those relationships. So the relationship with food shifted to becoming a nurturing one. But still, when I'm triggered, I want to go to the fridge and grab some chocolate, which is why I had to make really healthy chocolate, Kevin.
Well, there's nothing. Look, there's nothing, in my humble opinion, there's nothing wrong with, if you are, as an example, if you feel like it's a reward for you, if you've really worked hard and you've done something extraordinarily well, and you feel really good about it, and you reward yourself with a little something. Now having a couple of pounds of chocolate probably is not a really good idea, but at any given sitting, but a little bit, we got to be kind to ourselves as well.
Yes, and you speak of compassion, and I love that. And there is a fine line between, for some of us, between reward and uh, not being able to stop that need for more and more feel good. And that's where the compulsion comes in. Um, and it does become a conscious practice. When I have coached people um, in nutritional coaching, that's one of the things that we work on. Is one of the first questions is that, so what do you like about food? What do you don't like about food? When do you find yourself um, uh, eating things that you think aren't the best thing for you? And it it starts to raise awareness about how a person relates to food. And I have to think about that too. Am I having a bad day? Is my first thought to go to the refrigerator, or is my first thought to just sit down, take a breath, give myself the 7 seconds to go down this path or that path? Because as Allison will tell us all, it takes about 7 seconds for our uh, reptilian brain to kick in and be able to make a choice. So, what do we do in those moments? Go for the chocolate when we know we're triggered, or do we find peace in understanding that in that moment that a trigger is happening and there are other solutions than our usual go-to habits that no longer serve us?
By the way, Karen Thomas says, "Hello, beautiful angelic Beth." And
Hello.
Christine says, "Best chocolate is best chocolate is amazing." I get the biggest. I mean, I like chocolate too, but for some reason, women love, and I don't mean just like a little bit, but it's got to be high quality chocolate, right? And
Yes.
you guys love a little bit of chocolate.
Yeah. And I think that really ties into chocolate is a dopamine hit. It's a serotonin lift. It really just hits all the right spots in the brain. And it's full of magnesium and uh, iron. And these are things that our bodies crave and need. So,
Yeah, and Audra says it's just heavenly. So that is a lot of fun. So now I want to ask you, because one of the things that a lot of us have trouble with is understanding and recognizing when we get triggered and what brought it on and how to deal with it. How in your world do you recognize, number one, that you're being triggered by whatever it is, and then understanding that you're being triggered, take steps to not follow through on what the trigger is trying to tell you to do?
welcome to life. And Allison's work and all the work we do. Well, a trigger is, I would, a trigger is a strong emotional response that really jacks us up in fear, sadness, or we flee, fight, or flight. I'm sorry. Um, Mad, sad, glad, and afraid are the four emotions, right? So, are you mad? Are you sad? Are you afraid? If you're in any of those three emotions, it's usually a trigger. And a trigger is the result of an event in one's life that we had a strong negative emotional response to. So it could be something that happened when you were 2, could be something that happened when you were 20, something that you happened when you're 35, anything that really, in a way, caused a traumatic experience, whether it's on the 0 to infinity scale of trauma. And it's usually a strong reaction. So let's take fear, for example. I have a fear of spiders. I had an incredible fear of spiders at one time. Yep, you and me, Kev, right there.
Yeah, that's
And
why I live where I live.
yeah. Well, I I learned that, and Jennifer Etzweiler, the spider whisperer, who is in our group and also an animal communicator, when she told the story of her spider in her sink, and she thought he was communicating Friedrich, and it was really friend.
She told me that story, and it was like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. You
Right.
allowed a spider to be in your sink, and you didn't wash him away or do any of that. I was amazed. I was amazed. So go ahead
Right.
with the story.
So my trigger started with that when I was little with 3 older brothers. And I mean, they're much older than me, 13, 12, and 6 years older than I am, right? And yeah, aside from physical torture, there was psychological torture. And they told me horrific stories. And one was about this woman who had a nest of spiders in her hair. And I've always had long hair. And what happened, what they did, and ended up, traumatizing her and eventually killing her. And I thought any spider above my head, I was done for. I was going to be that person. So that created trauma right there. So when I would see a spider, I would get triggered into fear. Over my head, Kevin, I was literally frozen. I could not do a thing. I couldn't ask for help. I couldn't move because I felt if I moved, it would get me.
Yep.
So that's a trigger and a trauma response. So how did I cope with that? How did I transform that? That's the second part of your question. So when my son was born, he really inspired me to be a better person.
Amazing how they do
And
that, isn't it?
yes, he is a gift from spirit, and he is one of my greatest teachers on this planet. So I really started to work on my fear of spiders. And it's been a process. Unfortunately, he got my arachnophobia. And I think that probably happened energetically when he was in utero. But I've seen myself get better. And for example, do you want to hear a little crazy story that just happened?
Sure.
Okay. It can be said on video. So I was sitting in the yard the other day, holding space for someone and doing a little meditation to connect with them. And I sat in the grass, and all of a sudden I felt this like little zing on my leg. And I was like, what the heck was that? And that was not my language at the time, Kevin.
Oh, I can imagine. But you're
So,
allowed, this isn't regulated by the FCC, so you can
okay.
just let it hang out.
All right. It was a big WTF, right? So, and I look down and I see this little spider crawling away from me. And I'm like, oops, there goes my earpod. You bugger. Excuse me. Um, it bit me. So, and I didn't feel compelled to squish it. I didn't want retribution, and I wasn't afraid. And I realized in that moment, the spider actually gave me a message for the person. And uh, it was about grounding oneself and the family web and connection to all things, and I'm kind of getting God bumps right now. So I've gone from being frozen in the presence of spiders over my head to actually thanking a spider for a message, uh, and being grateful that I could help someone with that. So,
I had a whole different take. You want to want to hear
yeah,
my
go
take?
ahead. Lay it on me.
I because I get to do so many interviews, and I worked with a lot of animal communicators, and I had a good friend of mine is an animal communicator, and I said, I just want you to know I do not like spiders. So I want you to put the message out that if you don't want to be dead, don't come in my house.
I have said that too.
And so she put that out there, and I do not have a spider problem in the house. They don't come in the house, and so I don't have to worry about it. So I don't know whether or not. Well, I can't say that. I'm pretty sure that she put out the code and said, "Don't go there. You're not going to want to go there. There's nothing there for you, so stay away." So so we cohabit the same general space, and we live kind of together, but not really. So and
I'm with you. Yeah, in the bigger picture, I've asked, especially the larger barn spiders that we have here, and I live near a lake, so they really are doing their job. They're doing their job of keeping the pest population down. And I have asked the really big ones not to come in the house, and they don't come in the house. Um,
when you say a really big one, what do you mean?
you really want to see,
I just want to see. Not that I don't want to see, but you can kind of
like, can you see that? Like,
yeah.
um, you know, thumb size.
That's
They're
is that
and
you
they
mean the body's some thumb size and then the
Yeah,
legs?
and the
Uh,
webs are about like this big.
I
So
always dream that I'm going to walk into a web with a spider right in the middle of it, and that's just not happening for me.
mm,
So but I'm glad that you faced that, and you're moving forward through it. And it might some people might call that a silly example, but for some people, that is a really really big deal.
it was a big deal for me. Like I said, I didn't run and scream, and I didn't squish it. So that was evidence right there that I'm healing that trauma. And we have to look for those little evidences, those moments when we can recognize a shift in our behavior and a shift in ourselves.
Yes, indeed. By the way, Michelle says she was thinking about a tarantula, which is another reason why I don't go. I don't live in the southeast. I live in Seattle. We don't have those. We garter snakes are the worst thing that we have. So, and by the way, if you're listening now, Michelle at 3 o'clock is my interview that I get to do next, and I'm really excited about all you guys. And I know that I've said this before, but anyone who's listening now is welcome on my show at any time because you guys are truly gifted and you can help. And I mean this sincerely. You can really help other people and people who do not have a community of like-minded people around them who actually genuinely care. You can join this group, and they will take you in as a friend and without condition, without with excuse me, not worrying about uh, what you've done or who you are. Just they accept you as somebody that wants to live the change and live their lives a little bit better. And the best way to do that, there are two ways actually. The first one is the powerful pivots to.
Painless pivots to power,
Thank you.
which which is yes, that is Allison's. She does a I think it's a 3-day workshop now. It used to be a week long 3-day workshop. She just completed one in August. I believe that was the last one of 2022
Yep.
because we have the Behind the Power event. So there will, I'm not certain, but she would be able to tell you that there's probably one coming up in 2023. That's an excellent way to begin the journey of healing through mindset work. It's how I started the program. My the Pied Piper of many of us, Karen Thomas, introduced me to Allison and the program about 15 months ago. And after taking the Painless to Power workshop, I joined. And during this year, I entered the up level program and the practitioner program, both of which I'm extremely proud of and very honored to be in.
I got a question because I haven't asked this of anybody yet. So you get to be the first one. Are you excited about that?
Yes, I
Um,
am.
it seems like everybody that is part of behind the power and part of painless pivots to power, you've been around, and I hear this a lot, that it's been like a couple of years.
Mhm.
Was there kind of a shift that happened with Allison a couple of years ago that brought all these people together at that time, do you think? Or is it just by the nature of how she operates?
I will give you my understanding of it. I know that many of the people who work with Allison were in an animal communication group, and a few of them were on here now. They could chime in. And I believe Allison was assisting or as part of that program. And then many of them went, uh, decided that Allison would be a good next step for them and her work. And that is where Karen Thomas came in. She was one of those people. And Karen knows a lot of people. And Erin Arnett, Anna Davis, uh, are all from the Marathon, Florida area, the Florida Keys. And I had spent a lot of time in the Keys. And I love them both. And our paths just reunited even deeper with Allison. I know Christine and Carrie, uh, Cindy Turner, I believe, were all part of the animal communication program that eventually led to a unification in Allison's program, Unapologetic Power.
I really think that it's cool that everybody that went, they kind of got together as friends
Yeah.
and did this, and I don't mean to insinuate or to say that you guys are the only people that Allison works with, and it's all brand new. She's been doing
Oh,
this for years, and
yes, she has.
she's one of the top 100 coaches in the world, and has been recognized as that 2 years running. And
Yes.
so she's very talented, and her sphere of influence is very wide. But it just struck me that all you guys that are coaching and are speaking and are doing the book and stuff, it's relatively new for you all to get together the last couple
Yeah.
of years.
I, I I'll say this too, Kevin. I think divine timing, and
There is that.
we're put together with the people that we're supposed to be with in divine timing. And one of the things that I am so grateful for in this program is I really feel that the group that I'm with, my Tuesday night group, my unapologetic power group, my practitioner group, the up level group, I have never formed such close friendships so quickly in my life. I mean, it's hard enough to develop a friendship at any point in one's life, but to be in my late 50s and suddenly find the family I've always been looking for is an amazing gift. And when you take these incredible healers and people who are working through their story, and this is going to be a pat on the back for all of us, and I'm not shy about it. You put all of us together, and we're able to just amplify that. We're able to amplify our potential as healers and getting our story out there. And Allison has been a facilitator for it. She encourages it, and we're all stepping up to be our highest and best selves in that respect.
The interesting thing about that is that when you put a bunch of people together that are vibrating at a higher level anyway,
Mhm. Yeah.
and then that level is magnified with the camaraderie, with the group, with everything, and it becomes almost, well, it does, it becomes a very spiritual experience, almost like what I perceive it's like on the other side. That there's nothing
Mhm.
but love, caring, and that everybody is after everybody's best interest, and they have everybody's back. That's the
Yeah.
cool thing.
Yes. We're experiencing heaven right now. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. And I'm so thoroughly impressed with all of you, because you're all just, and to a person, and you are extraordinary, and it's great fun. And that is, behind the power event.com. You can go there, get tickets. It's a 3-day event, but you can join the hotel where they're staying. And if you're like in Seattle, it would be inhuman for me to ask my associate who I want to send there, um, to fly in on Wednesday morning and go to the conference and then fly out Friday night. That would be awful. So the hotel is allowing people to stay 4 nights as part of the
Yes.
package. You can stay Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. Fly in on Tuesday, fly out Saturday morning, and you can have some rest. And the cool thing is that it's all going to be at the hotel. And so I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Beth, I think the most powerful things are going to happen after the event ends and before people go to go to bed for the night.
Absolutely. And it's when I went to Behind the Power last year, it was transformational. That's such an overused word, but there's no other way to experience it. To be there live and to feel the energy. This year, Allison has really up leveled it. There will be breakout groups. My breakout group will be nourishment to manage compulsion. And several of us have breakout groups happening where you can come and have a coaching session, uh, talk, just a my group is just going to really, I'm turning it over to the participants so that they can be seen and heard, which is really important, to hear their stories and answer their questions about what soulful nourishment means to them, and what their own challenges are with their relationship with food. uh, there'll be several different panels on trauma, addiction, uh, creating a healthy home, mindset work. So these are all things that are really the nuts and bolts of getting the full experience, as well as the speakers, our speeches, Allison's presentations, and we can't forget Laura, Allison's daughter, who is an amazing host and has done an incredible amount of work to facilitate Behind the Power and give us a lot of technical coaching and inspiration and editing on our writing, as well as social media coaching. So a lot has gone into prepare for this to give everyone really an extraordinary, life-changing experience.
It is amazing to me that, well, no, it's not either. It's time. It's past time, but it now is the time more than ever when people need to get together, like-minded people, to create something better than an individual can do by themselves. And to gather a group together and to have that group continue to grow and to flourish, and it will only benefit everybody, and the bigger it gets, the more it will benefit people on the planet.
Yes, that's very wise, because healing and recovery and behavioral change does not happen in isolation. It
Nope.
doesn't happen in darkness, because we can't see our own blind spots. And I know that's been said on your program before, but it's so true. And when we're willing to be curious and can step into our vulnerability, we kind of open our hearts a little, and we allow the light of others to shine into it. And that love just helps make us grow, and it helps make us heal. And then we can pay it forward, which I think is truly amazing.
And you all will. And the
Yeah.
cool thing is it's not something that you're going to have to go out and talk about. It's just how you are. And people go, my favorite was, you remember the movie When Harry Met Sally?
Hmm.
And they're in the cafe, and she was telling him about the fact that sometimes women fake it, and he said, "No, no, I don't believe that." And so she demonstrated, and
Right.
the lady at the other table down there, when she was taking her order, said, "I'll have what she's having." That's how it is with you guys, because people will look at you as you live your day to day lives, just living normally. People will say, "I'm. Can I have what you're having?" Because I don't know what it is, but it's working really well for you.
I love that. Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
So, and it really is true, and it's cool that everybody is really cool. And you would think that I would be saying this because I don't know, and Allison's a friend, and you guys are, but I have seen this in action. You
Yes.
guys get from the very first person that came, that was part of Behind the Power. You guys all get on and you support them, and then you talk about it later, and then about how they did and all. So it really is a supportive group, and I am amazed. I'm not amazed, but uh, Allison has done an incredible job, and the first time I interviewed her, it was like, this is a special human being right here.
Absolutely. Yes.
And but she doesn't come off as a special human being, because that's not her role. Her role is not to be the guru. Her role is to create a bunch of different gurus.
What? Yes. I like the way you say that. It's like the ripple effect, where our the highest self of someone else raises the vibration of others. And when that vibration raises, it ripples out even further. So as we all heal and become our highest selves with the work we're doing with Allison, that just, like you said, amplifies. It's easier to send the message out. It's easier to be our true authentic selves. It's becomes joyful to become our authentic selves. And that's when people notice, say, hey, I want some more of that. I want what she's having. I want what he's having.
Exactly. And by the way, from what I understand, you make the best chocolate in the world, but that's just me. But no, I wanted to just
What's
say
your
that
address? We'll talk later.
we'll talk later. Absolutely. But and what I mean by the leadership versus non-leadership and stuff is that I believe that the time is now for each one of us to assume our authentic internal power, to open our hearts, because we all are one, and we can all do this together. It's not a matter of putting somebody up on a pedestal. We've done that before, and it hasn't worked particularly well. So this time it's one where we all get together and we work together. Do you agree with that at all?
100%. 100%. Just
And by the way, the fudge is to die for.
thank you all. You're amazing. I think that heartfelt connection is really what we're, and this kind of brings our conversation full circle as far as, what do we really hunger for? If our compulsions are driven by unresolved feelings, I believe that one of the common things that we share is the need for connection and the need for love. And your example of Allison's sharing her gifts with us to inspire us to share our gifts with others is part of that. We're building these bridges and connections to others' hearts and minds so that people don't feel isolated. We don't feel alone, that we know that somebody is always there for us. Even if they're not there in person, they're there. There's someone there thinking of us, someone there to support us. And as we learn and grow to know that, we can be that person for other people.
I agree 100%. And by the way, it is really, really a nice thing to know in your own mind. If you need somebody, you can call them and they'll be there for you.
Yes. Yes.
There aren't a whole lot of folks that you can really honestly say that about. Everybody's got their own needs and their own thing, but this, I feel like this group, and I could be wrong, but I think that if you Beth had an issue that you needed to talk to somebody, you could call any one of these people, and they'd come a running for you.
I've done it. There's no doubt in my mind. Yeah, and it's for my close people. My front door is a revolving door. You can show up at my house at any time, and there's a place for you. Or my phone is 24/7 for my group, and I know what it's like to need to talk to someone at 2 a.m. Not that I'm going to do it to you guys, uh, but it's good to know. You're right, Kevin, that safety is the first thing we need to know to heal. We need to have a safe environment. And when we feel unsafe, that's a very shaky place to be. It's not the foundation for healing.
It's not indeed. So let's talk about Beth a little bit. And
Okay.
if somebody wants to get a hold of you to work with you, or to buy
Mhm.
chocolate from you,
Sure.
or have some nutritional counseling with you, how do
Mhm.
they go about doing it?
You can go to bethnaglegriffin.com, BethnagleGriffin.com. You can find me on Facebook, also on Instagram and TikTok.
And if somebody calls you and they say they've got a food issue, or they want to learn about nutrition, or raw food diet and stuff, you can help them with that.
Yes, I can. I do not give medical advice. I give you nutritional advice. We'll just lay that on the table. I work intuitively. Uh, so I've got a spiritual side. I also work nutritionally. So I have a science side. And like Allison, I like to combine the two for a holistic experience. Um, and it's one of my passions. I had given up coaching for a while because I knew I had to heal myself in a lot of ways before I stepped back into it. And I'm there again. I miss people, I miss working with them. I'm bringing a whole new side of myself into the equation, a deeper spiritual and intuitive side. So I am really looking forward to this next chapter.
And you're going to be phenomenal at it.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin.
And I just want to point out, by the way, that if you want to find out something about nutrition and you go to your doctor, you're going to be sorely disappointed, because in medical school, they do not teach nutrition. They don't teach a non-invasive, non-pharmaceutical way to fix some of the problems that you may or may not have. And so if you want to go learn about natural eating, which can lead to a whole bunch of different, it can make a whole bunch of difference in your life and your health. You need to go to a nutritionist, or someone like Beth, that isn't medically trained, but could just tell you, well, you might want to stop doing that because it's not good for you, and start doing this.
That's my story, Kevin, right there. Part of my story is that about 15 years ago, I was suffering from adrenal failure, and it was misdiagnosed as anxiety. And I knew intuitively that's not what it was. And it took me a while to come full circle and realize I needed to work with a naturopathic doctor because there were some medical things we had to take care of. And it hit me then that all of the work that I had done in herbal studies and plant-based nutrition, I really needed to delve deeper because I was able to work with a doctor and facilitate my own healing through plant-based foods. And I became the evidence I needed if there was any doubt in my mind. So I am on board with you. We speak the same language.
And I, I have to bring up this next individual who is rather close to my heart. And he's my youngest son, and he is in far better shape than I. He is, and so when you talk about nutrition, he's a high performance athlete individual. But when you talk about nutrition, do you focus more on health or performance?
Both. It was as part of my healing journey, I had to prove to myself that it works. So at age 45, I ran my first sprint triathlon. So at that, it was key for me to not only focus on health, but focus on performance. Now, I tend to tailor to my clients and the people I work with. What are they looking for? Because what I do is about them. It's not about me.
So if Sean were to come and talk to you, you would talk to him more about performance and
Sure.
how because he is a bodybuilder, and he's he's the only guy I know that's still got washboard abs and stuff like that. And anyway, so but thank you, Sean. I hardly ever know that he's even listening to my little podcast, so it's great to have him here. So thank you for that. And but Beth, give us your information one more time, because I've got to go, because we're going to talk to Michelle next, and on the same channel, whatever you're watching, I will go off for a minute, and then we'll come right back on with Michelle. So stay with us. So
Sounds great.
Beth, if someone wants to get hold of you,
if you'd like to get a hold of me, you can go to bethnaglegriffin.com. It's my name.com. You can also find me on Facebook, my business name on TikTok and Instagram is Soulful Kitchen or Your Soulful Kitchen, depending on which platform you're on. So you can search Your Soulful Kitchen or Soulful Kitchen, and that's soul, S-A-U-L, full, F-U-L-L, kitchen.
it has been my honor to interview you today.
My honor. Thank you, Kevin.
Have you enjoyed it? Was it good? Was all right?
Oh my gosh, it was a blast. Thank you.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, and you're welcome back anytime you choose.
Thank you so much.
So thank you for being here, and Michelle, I'll see you on the other side in just a moment, but Beth, stay right where you are.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of PositiveTalkRadio.net. Please visit our website, oddly named PositiveTalkRadio.net, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin McDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share them with friends and family. So on behalf of our entire team, remember, be kind to one another, because each other's all we got.